look perfect, shiny, reliable. But what if that beautiful RV you trust was actually a ticking time bomb? Picture this. Halfway through your dream trip, the AC fails, the fridge dies, and you're stranded miles from help. Not because of bad luck, but because of a myth you believed. Every year, thousands of RVs are wrecked by well-meaning maintenance advice that sounds smart, but quietly causes thousands in damage. From cracked seals to dead batteries, we're exposing 11 RV maintenance myths that are quietly destroying rigs across the country. And the last one? It's so common, it might already be costing you big. At number 11, we've got a myth that sounds smart, efficient even, but quietly ruins more RV engines than most people realize. Just change the oil every 10,000 miles, they say. That might work for modern cars, but for RVs, it's a costly gamble. Unlike your daily driver, RVs sit idle for long stretches, carry enormous weight, and often endure extreme heat, steep climbs, and long hours on the road. That combination is brutal on engine oil. It breaks down faster, it collects sludge, and if you follow the 10,000-mile rule, you could be running on oil that's long past its protective prime. RV techs see it all the time. Engines that should have lasted 200,000 miles burning out after 60,000. Why? Because the oil was left in too long. And here's the kicker. Some owners did change their oil, just not often enough for RV conditions. In one shop case, a diesel pusher that missed just 2 recommended changes ended up with a $14,000 engine rebuild after overheating on a mountain pass. The owner had only driven 9,500 miles, but that oil had sat in the crankcase for nearly 2 years. Most RV experts recommend oil changes based on time, not just mileage. That means at least once a year, even if you've barely driven. And if you've done a lot of climbing, towing, or extended idling, even sooner. It might feel like a waste to dump what looks like clean oil, but ask any seasoned RVer. It's a small price compared to replacing an engine. And just wait until you see what skipping one $5 part can do in the next myth. It's a mistake that explodes on highways every summer. At number 10, let's bust one of the most dangerous myths rolling down the highway, that tire blowouts are just bad luck. Ask any tow truck driver working near an interstate in July, and they'll tell you, most blowouts aren't random, they're preventable, and they happen because RV owners don't know the warning signs. These rigs carry thousands of pounds more than a standard vehicle, and their tires take a beating. But here's where the myth sneaks in. People think if the tread looks fine, the tire must be safe. That couldn't be further from the truth. The real danger is internal. Rubber degrades with age, even if the tire looks brand new. Heat cycles, UV rays, and long periods of sitting can cause sidewall cracks and dry rot, sometimes invisible until the tire explodes at 65 miles an hour. And here's the scary part. Many RVs are sold with tires that look great but are already near their expiration date. The DOT code stamped on the side tells you the manufacture date, and if those tires are over 6 years old, they're on borrowed time. One family lost control of their fifth wheel after a front tire exploded on a downhill grade. The tire had only 10,000 miles, but it was 8 years old. Underinflation makes it worse. RV tires often lose pressure slowly, especially in cold weather. A tire running 15% low gets hot fast, hot enough to blow within minutes under heavy load. That's why experienced RVers check their pressure before every travel day. No exceptions. A $40 tire gauge in a few minutes of your time can save your RV and possibly your life. And speaking of damage you can't see, wait until you find out what's happening inside your batteries, even when they look perfectly normal. That's up next. At number 9, we're diving into a myth that's as common as it is destructive. The idea that RV batteries just need a quick top off now and then, and they'll be fine. It sounds harmless. You peek inside the battery compartment, grab a jug of distilled water, pour in a little, and call it done. But what most RV owners don't realize is that sloppy or inconsistent battery maintenance quietly shortens lifespan, causes charging issues, and in extreme cases can even start fires. And no, just because the lights are turning on doesn't mean your batteries are healthy. Lead-acid RV batteries are sensitive systems. They rely on a precise balance of water and acid to function properly. Overfill them, and the electrolyte can boil over during charging, corroding the tray, wiring, and even the frame underneath. Underfill them, and the lead plates get exposed to air, permanently reducing capacity with every discharge. And don't forget, if you top off with tap water instead of distilled, the minerals will coat the plates over time, leading to early battery death. We've seen rigs lose $800 worth of batteries in under a year, all because the owner thought close enough was good enough. Even worse, Many RVers forget to check their batteries during long stretches of storage. In hot weather, fluid evaporates faster. One mechanic found a Class A motorhome with bone-dry house batteries after just 4 months parked. Not only were the batteries ruined, but the inverter was fried from trying to compensate. That's a 4-figure fix for a 5-minute task. The solution? Monthly inspections, proper watering, and if you're using sealed batteries or lithium, know your system's needs, because the wrong approach can do just as much damage. Coming up next, we're heading to the roof, where a tiny crack you can't even see might already be costing you thousands. At number 8, we're tackling one of the most expensive myths in the entire RV world. The belief that if your roof isn't leaking, it must be just fine. It's easy to think that way. After all, if there's no water dripping onto your bed or running down the walls, what's the problem, right? But here's the truth. By the time you see the leak, the damage has already been done, and it's often catastrophic. Water doesn't ask permission. It sneaks through micro cracks, pinholes, and dried-out sealant you barely notice. Then it soaks insulation, rots wood framing, rusts electrical wiring, and invites mold into places you can't even access without tearing the rig apart. Some of the worst RV disasters start with one silent drip that went unnoticed for months. We're talking warped ceilings, bubbling wallpaper, soft floors, and roof decking so rotted you can push your hand through it. And the cost? Roof repairs can run $5,000 to $10,000 or more, especially if structural framing is involved. One couple thought their roof was fine until they tried to trade in their travel trailer and the dealer found black mold behind the cabinets. Trade-in value? Slashed by half on the spot. Here's what the pros recommend. Inspect your roof every 90 days minimum. That means climbing up, checking every seam, vent, skylight, and antenna mount. Look for soft spots, bubbles, and dried or cracked sealant. Use a proper RV roof sealant, not silicone from the hardware store, and touch up as needed. A $15 tube of Dicor now can save you $5,000 later. And just because your roof looks okay from the ground, that means nothing. Water always finds a way. And speaking of silent damage, wait until you hear what's hiding behind those slide outs you haven't cleaned in months. That's next. At number 7, let's talk about one of the most neglected and expensive features on modern RVs, the slide out. Too many owners assume that if their slide is moving in and out smoothly, then everything must be working perfectly. But that assumption is quietly setting them up for massive repair bills. The truth is, slide outs are one of the most failure-prone systems on any RV, and regular maintenance isn't optional, it's critical. These mechanical giants are exposed to the elements year-round. They gather debris, their seals wear out, their tracks dry up, and if you ignore those signs long enough, you're looking at broken motors, water damage, or frame separation. One couple learned this the hard way on a cross-country trip. Their slide had always worked fine until it didn't. Halfway through Nevada, it jammed halfway out. The gear mechanism had seized because dust and sand had worn through dried-out lubricant. Their vacation stopped cold. Towing it in cost $900. Repairs? Just over $3,200. All for something that could have been prevented with a 15-minute inspection and a can of slide lube. But it's not just mechanical failure you need to worry about. It's water intrusion. Slide-out seals are notorious for drying, cracking, or tearing over time, especially in hot climates. Once that happens, rain doesn't need much of an opening to get in. And unlike a roof leak, water around a slide-out can drip straight into furniture, floors, and wall cavities. Some owners don't realize the damage until the floor starts to buckle. So what's the fix? Lubricate the slide mechanism every 3 to 6 months, clean the seals, use protectant sprays to keep them flexible, and inspect both the top and bottom every time you retract or extend. Because when slides fail, it's not just a minor annoyance, it's a rig stopper. And if you think winterizing only matters in freezing states, you're in for a surprise next. At number 6, we're busting one of the most widespread and financially dangerous myths in RV ownership. The belief that winterizing only matters if you live in a freezing cold state. If you think your RV is safe because you're parked in Texas, Arizona, or Southern California, think again. RV repair shops in warm states see busted plumbing, cracked tanks, and ruptured fittings every single spring. Not from snowstorms, but from one simple oversight, underestimating how fast temperatures drop at night. It doesn't take days of deep freeze to destroy your water system. One cold snap, one night in the 20s, and boom, your pipes expand, crack, and silently start leaking behind your walls. And the worst part, you might not even notice the damage until your next trip, when water starts pooling under the cabinets or seeping through the floor. One Phoenix couple skipped winterizing because their daytime temps were still hitting 65, but one night it dropped to 27 degrees for 6 hours. The result? A split water line under the shower pan, a flooded lower deck, and over $2,800 in repairs, just to replace something they never even saw. RV plumbing isn't insulated like a house. Your water heater, pump, outdoor shower, and dump valves are all exposed or lightly protected. Even a brief chill can wreak havoc. That's why experienced RVers winterize anytime temps threaten to hit freezing, even once. Blow out the lines, add antifreeze to the drains, drain the water heater. It's cheap, easy, and it protects the system you depend on. Don't let mild weather fool you, because it's not about how hot it gets during the day, it's how cold it gets while you're sleeping. And speaking of what happens while your RV is sitting still, next we're looking at one mistake that quietly kills your generator, even when it's not in use. At number 5, we've got a myth that's responsible for more dead generators and ruined trips than most people realize. It sounds logical at first. Why service the generator if I'm not using it? But here's the truth. Letting your generator sit idle for months is one of the fastest ways to destroy it. And when it finally doesn't start, usually in the middle of a heat wave, when you need the AC the most, it's already too late. Gasoline generators in particular are notorious for suffering from fuel degradation. When gas sits for weeks or months, it begins to break down and form varnish. That sticky residue clogs jets, gums up the carburetor, and blocks fuel flow. The result? Hard starts, sputtering, or no power at all. Even diesel generators aren't immune. Long periods of disuse can lead to battery drain, corrosion, and moisture buildup inside the system. One RV owner learned the hard way while dry camping in the desert. Temps hit 98 degrees, and his generator, unused for 8 months, refused to start. The carburetor was full of sludge, the fuel was stale, and the onboard battery was toast. Repair cost? $1,900. And that was just to get the power back on. The trip itself cut short. Most generator manufacturers recommend running your unit under load at least once a month for 30 minutes. This keeps the system lubricated, burns off moisture, and circulates the fuel. It's not a maybe, it's essential if you want your generator to be ready when you need it most. Don't wait until you're boondocking in the heat with a dead rig to realize you believed a myth. And speaking of overlooked safety, coming up next is a mistake that hides in plain sight. Your rig might look balanced and underweight, but what you don't know about weight distribution could cause a blowout or worse. At number 4, we're calling out a myth that feels safe, but quietly puts you, your passengers, and your entire rig at risk. It's the belief that if your RV's total weight is under the manufacturer's gross vehicle weight rating, you're good to go. But the truth is, it's not just about how much your RV weighs, it's about where that weight sits. An improper distribution is one of the most common causes of tire blowouts, suspension damage, and even dangerous sway on the highway. You could be well under your max load, but if too much weight is concentrated on one axle or even one side of the RV, you're still flirting with disaster. Uneven weight causes tires to overheat, brakes to wear unevenly, and steering to feel unstable. In fact, some RVs that appear level and balanced from the outside are hiding overburdened axles that are seconds away from a failure at 65 miles per hour. One fifth-wheel owner found out the hard way. He weighed in under his total limit, but his rear axle was overloaded by 900 pounds. A blowout shredded his wheel well and caused thousands in body damage. He'd never stepped on a scale. The fix? It's simple. Hit a certified CAT scale. These truck stop scales are everywhere, and they give you detailed readings per axle. Experts recommend weighing your RV loaded exactly how you'll travel. Water tanks full, gear packed, food stocked. That's the only way to know your true setup. And once you know, you can shift cargo, redistribute weight, or even adjust tire pressure accordingly. Don't guess, don't eyeball it, and don't assume under limit means safe, because when it comes to safety, balance matters just as much as bulk. And up next, we're peeling back the sealant myth, a sticky lie that leads to leaks, rot, and ruined interiors if you fall for it. At number 3, we're busting a myth that fools even seasoned RVers, the belief that once you seal something, it stays sealed. It's the classic, if it looks fine, it must be fine trap. But RV sealant isn't permanent, and waiting until you see visible damage is like waiting for a roof collapse before replacing your shingles. By then, it's too late. Sealant degrades with time, weather, and movement. UV rays from the sun slowly dry it out. Tiny cracks form. Flexing from travel creates gaps so small you can't see them, but water can. One microscopic opening around a roof vent is all it takes for moisture to start seeping into your ceiling, your walls, your insulation, and it doesn't announce itself with a splash. It works in silence. Rotting wood, corroding metal, breeding mold. One couple in Florida ignored their roof seams because they looked fine from the ladder. 2 months later, they discovered brown streaks running down their interior wall. The damage? Over $7,000, and their insurance didn't cover it because the leak came from lack of maintenance. Here's the rule the pros follow. Inspect every seam, every seal, every 3 months, minimum. Run your fingers along the edges. Press gently. Look for soft spots, bubbles, or peeling. On the roof, around windows, vents, doors, and slide-outs. And don't assume one type of sealant works for everything. Use the right product for your material. Decor for rubber roofs, Sikaflex for windows, but never silicone from the hardware store. It might look clean at first, but it won't bond properly, and it could cause bigger issues down the road. Sealant isn't a one-time job, it's a maintenance routine. Miss it once, and you could be dealing with a slow, expensive disaster. And if you think electrical upgrades are safe just because they work, the next myth might actually void your insurance. At number 2, we're looking at a myth that's not just dangerous, it can burn your RV to the ground. It's the belief that if your electrical modification works, it must be safe. Maybe you added a few outlets, rewired a fan, or installed a solar charger using a tutorial from YouTube. If the lights come on and nothing sparks, you're good, right? Wrong. Just because power flows doesn't mean it's flowing safely or legally. And in an RV, where wiring runs through thin walls and near flammable materials, one bad connection can turn into a full-blown fire. RV fire departments report dozens of incidents every year tied to amateur electrical work. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a slow melt behind a cabinet. But once it starts, it spreads fast. One owner decided to install a new inverter himself. He used the wrong gauge wire, didn't fuse the line, and secured it with basic hardware store clamps. 3 months later, while charging at a campground, the wire overheated, arced, and ignited the insulation behind the dinette. Total loss. Insurance refused to cover the damage because the system wasn't installed by a certified technician or according to code. Even small upgrades can introduce risks if done incorrectly. Mixing AC and DC grounds, overloading breakers, bypassing safety shutoffs, and the worst part, you often don't know there's a problem until the wires have already started to overheat. RVs vibrate constantly during travel, and that movement can loosen screws and strain cheap connections over time. So what's the right move? Use proper marine-grade wire, follow RVIA or NEC codes, fuse every major component, and when in doubt, bring in a pro, because in this case, good enough could cost you your home on wheels. And now we're down to the final myth, the one that's so widespread, so casually repeated, it sent more RVs to the scrapyard than any mistake on this list. At number 1, we've saved the most dangerous and most deeply believed myth for last. The idea that RV maintenance is just too expensive to keep up with. You hear it all the time. I'll wait until something breaks. It's not worth fixing if it still works. But here's the truth that haunts thousands of RV owners every year. Neglected maintenance doesn't save money. It multiplies the cost. What looks like a quick savings today quietly becomes a $10,000 repair you can't afford tomorrow. And by the time most people realize it, it's already too late. Let's break it down. Skipping that $150 roof reseal, it can become a $7,000 mold remediation, ignoring a $40 tire pressure check. Try a $3,200 blowout repair, and that's if you don't crash. Forgoing a $100 generator tune-up, you're now shopping for a $2,000 replacement. And the worst part? RV insurance often won't cover damage caused by poor maintenance. One family we spoke to bought a used Class C in great shape. They drove it 2,000 miles before the transmission seized. The fluid had never been changed, and the previous owner believed it didn't need it. Total cost? $6,400. The trip ended in a rental car. Preventive maintenance isn't just a checklist, it's a form of protection. It keeps your systems healthy, your rig dependable, and your adventures stress-free. It's what separates the RVers who enjoy the open road year after year from those stranded on the side of it. So next time you're tempted to skip an oil change or ignore a crack in the sealant, remember this: the small stuff always becomes the big stuff if you let it. And if this video helped you avoid even one expensive mistake, hit that like button. It tells us to keep digging deeper, exposing the myths that cost RV owners the most. Want to know which RV brands are actually built to last? Watch this next.